it was just really, really hard. And I'll kind of tell you what happened with the actual crash. And like I said, the guy was driving the wrong way down the interstate. But my first reaction as a mom is that I don't want another family to lose a son.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. This is MILF Podcast, the show where we talk about motherhood, entrepreneurship, sexuality, and everything in between. I'm Jennifer Tracy, your host. Happy Halloween, guys. Happy Halloween. I love Halloween. It's funny, I haven't dressed up the last couple years just because I've been busy. My son is going to be Dwight from The Office this year. He's very excited about it. And let me tell you, this child has pretty much every episode of The Office, all 9 seasons, memorized. It's really impressive. So yeah, I live in West Hollywood, where we have one of the biggest Halloween party parades in the world. And I think last told, 400,000 people came. It actually may be more than that. I haven't checked the stats in a while, but it's pretty miraculous. And I've also learned I can't really leave my neighborhood. I have to stay close by because otherwise I'm never getting home because the traffic is crazy coming in here. Yeah, this is the last week that I'll be announcing GLSEN. GLSEN is the organization that I've chosen to highlight this month. You can find out more about them through my website, milfpodcast.com on the giving page, or you can go directly to them, glsen.org, GLSEN.org, and find out what they're doing to educate and help schools to educate their staff and the children more about LGBTQ so that we can all have a safe, inclusive place for everybody. And I'm really, really proud of what this organization is doing. They have chapters all over the country. If you want to get involved, if you just want information, if you want them to help out at your school, they're incredible. So we don't have a sponsor for this episode. And if you're interested in sponsoring MILF Podcast, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us at jennifer@milfpodcast.com. Email me, or you can email my producer, Sarah, at milfpodcast.com. And we will send you out a packet and you can learn about sponsorship opportunities because we love sponsors. They keep us going. Today's guest is incredibly special. I met Crystal Johnson through Jennifer Pasteloff, and Crystal is just one of the strongest, most resilient women I've ever met. Crystal lost 2 of her children to a car accident. They were both driving back to college, and she has 5 children. Some are stepchildren, but she has 5 children. So she says 3 of them are here and 2 of them are in heaven. And her story is beautiful and heartbreaking, and she tells it so incredibly, just beautifully on the show. And I was telling my friend about it the day that I had the interview, and she said, "Did you just lose it in the interview?" And I said, "No, I didn't, because I was really holding the space and honoring the story." And it's profound. It's profound to listen to her talk about it now and share the story and how she lives her life day by day now, and how the boys are just in her and in her life, still, even in their absence. It's a beautiful interview, and I'm so excited to share it with you. Please enjoy my conversation with Crystal Johnson. Hi, Crystal.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm really good. How are you? Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Gosh, we really went a couple rounds of trying to schedule this thing.
We did. Probably about 10 times, I think.
But you know what's amazing is that we both stayed the course and we made it happen. And even though we had some technical glitches yesterday, like, we're here. And I always say these sessions always happen at exactly the time they're supposed to.
Pretty much everything does, I think.
Yeah. You're in New York?
No, Atlanta. No.
Oh, Atlanta. Oh, I don't know why I put you in New York. Okay. So you're in Atlanta, and where were you born and raised?
Florida, Lakeland, Florida. Central Florida. It's like between Tampa and Orlando.
Okay. And what precipitated the move to Atlanta? When was that?
I've been here now for 17 years. My ex-husband took a job up here. He went to school at Georgia Southern, and then he moved to Atlanta afterwards. So he had connections up here. And so he just got a transfer.
Okay. And what were you doing at that time?
At that time, I wasn't. I was a stay-at-home mom. And at that time, we had just had our third son, Walker, and he was probably about a year and a half when we moved up here.
Wow. So you're up there with 3 kids, and what do you do professionally? I actually don't even really know.
I work for a hospital management company, and I manage a team of sourcing recruiters, essentially. And what we do, we are your ER. When you go into a hospital, we basically, the physicians work for us. We manage the billing. We do all of that. And then we also do have hospital medicine physicians as well, which they work like their intensivist or their family practice, that kind of thing. And my team, I have a team of about 20.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And you had the team?
Pardon me?
You had the team, like you're the leader?
Yes, they're my team.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you always worked in like the medical field, or is that you're just management is your specialty?
I've always worked in sales management for the most part. Some girls on my team always tease me because I've kind of done a lot of things. I was a flight attendant for a little while, and I worked in makeup artistry, but I worked for Lancome for a really long time, and I was a business manager for them, and I was a makeup artist for them, and I did that also previously. So
I love it. You're like me. I've had a million different jobs. I was a belly dancer professionally. I mean, mine aren't as legit professional as your. I mean, not like they were illegal or anything, but
Sure they were. Not illegal, but legit.
yeah. But that's so cool. Now, were you doing all these things after you became a mom, before you became a mom, both?
After I got married, the month I turned 19.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And my ex-husband was 8 years older than me. So he was already out of college in a career when I met him. And yeah, it was pretty quick. Our first date was January and we got married in July.
How was your family receiving this?
They actually loved him.
Okay.
It was really a good situation. Yeah, they were. We were married 17 years. And let's see. So I got married, like I said, the month I turned 19. And then 2 years later, we had our first son. And then every 2 years, so 2 years we had Deacon. And then 2 years later, we had Garret. And then 2 years later, we had Walker. And I thought I was done at that point.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Okay. So then, sorry, I lost my train of thought. There's so many things. There's so many children to keep track of.
There are. I'm not sure. There might be another one running around.
And you have a daughter as well.
I have a stepdaughter. Yes.
You have a stepdaughter. Yeah. Okay.
So I have 4 boys. I have a little boy as well. So I have 4 boys, and all of the boys are mine. Yes. And then our daughter is my stepdaughter. So she's my husband.
And how long have you been married to your current husband?
Dan and I have been married for 5 years.
Okay. I met you through Jen Pasteloff, and I remember sitting in recording her show. And afterwards I said, if you can think of one mom that you really, really deeply respect, that would be great for the show. And she said, oh, I have a woman that is just my heart. She said, this woman is just incredibly beautiful and profound and powerful. And her story is incredible. And her resilience is remarkable. And it is a story that other mothers need to hear, other people need to hear who have experienced or are experiencing deep loss. And so I can't thank you enough for coming on the show today and sharing your beautiful story. And I'm going to just ask you to tell us what happened.
It was November 2017, so Thanksgiving, essentially. And of course, all of our little family was together. My boys, Deacon and Garret, went to college at Georgia Southern, and they had come home for Thanksgiving. And we just had a beautiful time together. It was one of those, it's really strange because that Saturday after Thanksgiving, my husband and I were just sitting here kind of by ourselves. The kids were all spread out wherever they were. And we were just talking about how sweet of a time we had, and and I've written about it before, but the hugs were longer and the kisses were sweeter and the laughter was louder. You know, we just had a really fantastic time together. Mm. And so Thanksgiving came and went. The next day, in our family, ever since my Deacon was a baby, my oldest. So I have 5 kids. Okay. So there's Deacon and Garret and Walker, and those boys are from my previous marriage, as I mentioned before. Mm. And then I had Ryder, as a single mom.
Okay.
And he is, let's see, at the time he was 5, and Natalie is my stepdaughter. And at the time she was 11. Okay. Deacon was 20, Garret was 18, and Walker was 16, just to kind of give you a gotcha. Rounded view from that point. And so in our house, Christmas was just always a really big deal. Decorating the tree was always a really big deal. So I wanted to make sure we did it while the boys were home. And that's what we did on that Friday. We went and picked out our tree. We found the perfect one in like 5 minutes. It was crazy. And came home, decorated the tree. Every year I get a new ornament. And for some reason, this year I got 5, and I got 5 ornaments, and each one had one of the kids' names on it. And so they each put their own ornament on the tree, which became very special. And that night we were going to watch a movie. And instead the kids went outside and played. They threw the football, and I was going to call them in for the movie, I remember. And Dan was like, just let them play. They don't get to do this very often. And so they stayed outside, all 5 of them, just running around, having a good time until about almost midnight. Came in the next day, the boys were leaving to go back to school. They were going to spend the day with their friends and then get on the road. Deacon always liked to drive at night because I don't know if you've ever really spent much time in Atlanta, but the traffic here is crazy. And especially during, a holiday season where everyone's driving through to go home.
Yeah.
So he always drove at night. So he was going to go to a movie with his friends and then head home or head back to school. And I got a call that night, which was really special from him. It was after their movie. And he's like, I'm going to come back by and give you a hug before we leave. And so he and Garret came back, gave us hugs, and those last hugs are definitely a memory that is very real for me. I still smell them. I still can hear their voice. And Deacon always patted me on the back. Ever since he was a little kid, it was a joke that he would pat everyone on the back when he hugged them. And he did that. And they gave me a hug and did the same thing for their dad on the way out of town and headed to school. So the next morning I wake up, and you know how you just have one of those mornings that's just kind of perfect? Everything, the weather's beautiful outside and you're just in a really good mood and you're happy. And that's how I woke up. And, it's always crazy because you think you're going to know when something's wrong with your children, but I did not. I woke up completely it was a great day. And Dan and I were going to go Christmas shopping that day. And so we headed to lunch. And it's really, I don't think I've ever told this publicly before, but where we're driving, I have no idea what made me say this, but I did. We were talking and I just said, it's crazy. I haven't lost someone really close to me in a long time. And we talked about that and it was just kind of a profound moment for me. And then we went shopping and we were in the department store. We were in a Marshall's and I got a call from my ex-husband and I ignored it because I was with my husband and I wanted to spend that time with him. And he called me again pretty much immediately. So I answered and I knew that something was wrong the moment I heard his voice because he cried my name and he didn't say anything else. And you know how you can have a fleeting thought, and that thought for me was something happened to his grandmother or, something's happened.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the thought in my mind was not what actually happened, Right. And the next words out of his mouth, he didn't say, are you sitting down? He didn't say, are you driving? He just said, Deacon and Garret were in an accident and they didn't survive. I remember just feeling like I was out of my body. And I just kept saying, both of them, both of them, both of them. And he, of course, was beside himself. And he was essentially hysterical. And Walker was our 16-year-old. He was actually with him at the time. And what I've also never talked about this, but the way that Jack found out, the police department had tried to find us. I was out shopping, so they went to my house. I wasn't there. They went to Jack's house. He had just moved a week before, so they went to his old location. So they didn't have his new one. It took them a while to find us. They showed up on his doorstep, and he was outside, and he was just on the ground when they told him, And this actually had happened on, like I said, on their way to school. And Georgia Southern's about 4 hours away from where we live. And so the officers that told him aren't the officers that were there. So they had to hand him a phone, and he had to find out over the phone from them. And that's how he told me. And so he did thankfully have the officer's number. And I guess I should backtrack a little bit. Whenever he first told me, and I was, saying both of them, I just fell to the floor. And I told Dan, and I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself. I'm really good about forgiving myself for things, but this one, I just looked at him and I said, Deacon and Garret are dead. That's how I told Dan. And he just came at me and he was like, no. And he came down to the floor with me. And I'll never forget, there was a woman there. I was crying and I was just saying, my babies, my babies, my babies. There was a woman that came over, and I remember her eyes. I would never know her if she was standing in front of me, but I did see her eyes. And she said, "Are you okay?" And I remember shaking my head no. And her eyes grounded me. It kind of brought me back to my body, I guess. And I was able to stand up. I was able to walk out of the store. I was able to go to the car. And I remember Dan always kind of laughs about this part. And I said, give me the keys. You don't need to be driving. And so he did. He gave me the keys. And then we sat in the car and I called the officer. And I was very calm for the most part. And, I was trying to find out all of the information I could. And I remember asking him if it was Deacon's fault. And he told me, no, ma'am. He said there was a driver that drove the wrong way down the interstate and hit them head on.
Oh, my God.
He said, we do believe they died instantly, which was a blessing later, because my next question to him was, where are they? I need to be with them. Please just tell me where they are. I need to be there. And he just paused for a moment and he just said, ma'am, I'm so sorry, but you don't want to see them. There was a fire. And that part for me, I think that's what made it somewhat real. Some days it still doesn't feel real, and it's been almost 2 years,
Yeah.
But at that point we hung up and Dan looked at me and he said, what the hell am I doing? You're not driving. So he switched places. We drove home. I had to call my family, who of course were just beside themselves. Jack brought Walker over. Wendy, Dan's ex, brought Natalie over, our daughter. We were all together. And after Jack left, I got a call from the coroner, which is what I had been waiting for all day. And that phone call is when he told me that he would need dental records. And for me, that was so far the hardest part of what happened. I don't think I realized how bad it was until that moment. And it ended up coming up later that they actually needed my DNA to identify the boys, which was difficult. So when the boys died, they just vanished. They were here one minute and they were gone the next. I never got to see them again. Excuse me. It was just really, really hard.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of tell you what happened with the actual crash. And like I said, the guy was driving the wrong way down the interstate. But my first reaction as a mom is that I don't want another family to lose a son. And my first thought with all of that was that I didn't want another family to lose a son. And I didn't want another mother to lose a son. And then we started hearing facts come out about the case. And one of the reasons you and I actually postponed one of the timeframes that we were going to talk was because we had the court hearing coming up finally.
Yeah.
And throughout the process, more and more information started coming out about the driver. And just to save time, it ended up being that he was high, and we did find out through toxicology that he was on cocaine and Xanax, among other things. And he drove 5 miles the wrong way down the interstate at a minimum before he came upon the boys and hit them head on. And he was injured, but not. He's totally fine now. You know, he had a couple broken bones and I think some other issues, but now he's fine. We did have the court hearing in June. When you're going through a process like this, does not happen the way that you think it's going to. You know, you expect that there's a certain amount of time someone's going to get for killing 2 human beings, right? Yeah. It doesn't really happen that way. There's a lot that's involved. There's a lot of discussion that's involved. Along with the fact that he was high, he also had been through rehab before, and he actually worked at the clinic after rehab, helping others through sobriety. And so the fact that he was high, he wasn't a kid who made a mistake. He was a grown man. He was 27 years old, and he knew what he was doing. You know, he knew the road that what he was doing was going to take him on. Yeah. And he still chose to do it. So that definitely changed our mindset on it. Yeah. Having said that, my husband he's in recovery. He's been sober for 7 years now. And, we're very pro, rehabilitation and, you know, taking care of yourself. But once someone's done it so many times and then they kill 2 human beings, it takes on a different turn, you know? So after months, years, actually, when the crash first happened, he didn't spend any time in jail. He did get arrested, finally, 6 months after the crash, and he spent 3 days in jail. And then the rest of the time he was home. So when we went in there, meeting with the district attorney multiple times and discussing with them, the maximum amount of time that he could get was 40 years. And that's 15 for DUI, homicide, felony, and times 2. So that's 15 times 2. And then the 10 years, he actually had possession of marijuana in his trunk. So you get 10 years for having possession of marijuana, but 15 years for
Jeez, that doesn't seem
crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
It is. And so what we asked for, and, you know, what we asked for was 3825, which what that means is 38 years sentenced, 25 to actually serve in prison. The rest of the time would be on parole, right? And the reason we chose that number is that Deacon was 20 and Garret was 18, and it came up to a total of 38 years. And then they neither one would see the age of 25. So that was the minimum that we wanted them to serve. But it came down to, for me too, there's never enough time. There's never enough time that's going to make up for what we've lost. Yeah. And more importantly, what Deacon and Garret lost. Yeah. So I had to kind of look at it as what is going to be impactful when people hear it? What is going to cause that man to remember what happened every day, you know? And what is going to give him the opportunity to still have a life that he can possibly bring some good into this world? With having all of those things also happen, you know, and that's the number that we came up with. So, and that is what he got.
So that's what happened in June.
Yes.
You did get what you were going for.
He did.
And how did that feel?
Heartbreaking. I spent the first week thinking about him, you know, at night, hoping that he's okay, honestly. I was a little mad because I'm sitting here spending my time thinking about someone in jail rather than my boys. And I had to let that go. I had to know that what we asked for was the best balance that we could come to, and that it served the boys well. And, that's basically how I live my life, is just doing everything I can to be sure that I serve them well.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, first of all, for sharing all of that. That's so, I can't even imagine. I just can't even imagine. And you're just so graceful in everything that you talk about. And I've been following you now on Instagram this whole time. And just every time you post about it, everything you write about it, you're such a good writer. And, I just want to ask, what kind of support did you get for yourself, throughout this process? Because I can't imagine, we're not equipped with tools of how to deal with this kind of loss. It's not something that we're given out the gate.
Yeah. I think I'm a little bit of an anomaly, because I have not gotten any professional help, I should say. I write, and that for me is incredibly therapeutic. I do have a huge support system, which I can't imagine going through something like this without it. My family, when the call first came in, I have no family here. They're all in Florida. And then there's a couple spread about the country, but within 3 days, I had 40 people in my house. My family is really large. It's my step family primarily. And then my parents, my mom and my dad. And luckily we all get along really well. But they were here. They were here in a heartbeat. They dropped their lives for a full week, and they stayed through the memorial service, which was incredible. We had about 400 people show up, and it was beautiful. It was at the lake where we've always taken the kids since they were little. And it was just I hate to use the word magical, because how do you use that word with what we're dealing with? But it was just incredibly profound. But my writing, my support, you mentioned Jen earlier, and the way that I met her, she was giving away a scholarship to Italy, to her retreat that she has there every year. And someone nominated me. Someone sent in a letter to her, and she was basically, I have to meet this person, or I have to talk to her. And so she and I talked, and she gave me the scholarship immediately. Yeah. And I went there, and let me tell you, I had never been to Europe before. I've definitely never traveled alone. I was, like I mentioned earlier, I was a flight attendant for about a year, but that was all domestic flights. And it's very different traveling to another country that doesn't necessarily speak your language, all of them. And in a time of deep grief, because the crash had happened, it was less than a year after the crash. So it was September of last year. That trip for me was life-changing. And I use that word, that term a lot regarding that trip. And I feel like I sound redundant sometimes, but it truly was. And more so than me being able to dig deep, which is what Jen's retreats are about, it was the relationships and the tribe that she brought to my life. And I know that any of those women I could call at any point in time, and they would be here in a second. And there are some of them that are my soulmates, lifelong, and it was wonderful. And the thing that I walked away with besides that was the fact that I can do anything, if I can live through, and I will always be living through this. There will never be an end to my grief. There will never be I'm through it. It is with me every day. Yeah. Another thing that I do, I've managed to find a way to compartmentalize my life. So, I mentioned my job, and I have a very hectic work life. Like I manage 20 people, and there's always something going on with someone, and so there are a lot of parts that move, and I have to be there. I have to be present. and capable and function when I'm at work. And I'm able, for the most part, to walk through that door. And I describe it sometimes as I have my grief in a box, and the box is on my shoulder, you know, and I have to lock that grief up to walk through that door.
Yeah.
But what I give myself is one day a week to work from home, to grieve, to cry. I'm still working, but I'm home and I can just let it all out. And so far, that is what is working for me. Now, there are times when that day extends to a second day, you know, and I just have to work from home again. There are moments that I know are going to be difficult that I plan for: birthdays, holidays, you know, Mother's Day is the biggie. My birthday is really difficult. There are days that I know that are coming and I plan for them, you know, and then there are the days that grief just knocks you on your ass and you just have to deal with it. And you have to say, okay, just box, you're destroyed today, you know? And that's kind of how I manage it. Yeah.
And how is it helping your other kids walk through this?
Walker just left for Rutgers, and that might be why you were thinking New York, because we were in New York.
That's what it was.
He was up at New Jersey.
That's right.
We do not pretend it didn't happen. We bring them into our lives. We do things like family movie night. We always did family movie night ever since my kids were little. We would, you know, pull out on Friday nights. We'd all cuddle up on the sofas and we'd bring out movie candy and popcorn and we would have our movie nights. And we still do that. And we have Deacon and Garret movie nights, and we watch movies that only they loved. And the kids will pick it, you know. And so we bring them into what we do. We have them. I'm in my living room right now, and we have them kind of everywhere. You know, people probably walk into our house. I'm like, what the hell? But I don't care. You know, it's how we keep them alive in our lives. Ryder, my 7-year-old, he just turned 7. Each one of the children have their own story with the boys. You know, Walker, my 18-year-old, it was the three of them, the three musketeers, their whole lives. And so he lost his future, you know, and this is the part that gets me emotional. But I remember after the crash, he just looked at me and he said, Mom, they're the people I was going to grow old with, you know. That's what he lost. He lost his best friends throughout his entire life. Yeah. Because he's the youngest of the three, of course. Natalie, she lost what she didn't have yet. And she had a lot already, because the boys, when she came into the picture, they just encircled her. You know, they just brought her into the fold and they treated her no different. They would come home for her birthday to surprise her. And when they wouldn't come home for mine, you know, they were the best big brothers on the planet. But that's what she lost. She lost the time she didn't have. And Ryder lost his absolute champion and best friend. And Deacon, my oldest, when Ryder was born, he just took him in. He fell in love with that baby from the moment he first held him. And if Deacon was around, Mom ceased to exist. And he's a mama's boy, but Deacon was his favorite. And he will tell you that to this day. And Deacon, when he went to college, he would FaceTime him every day because their relationship was just so special. And that's what he lost, you know? So, we have to work hard to make sure that they don't lose that, you know? And that's probably what my biggest fear was that Ryder would forget how special that relationship was. But I'm really pleased to say that he hasn't, you know, yet. And I'm going to do my damnedest to make sure he doesn't, you know? Yeah.
That's amazing. Tell me more about your writing. So your writing has been very therapeutic for you.
It has. I have neuropathy, and it affects my speech, and I assume that's what's affecting my speech. It mostly affects my hands, but I tend to get a little tongue-tied sometimes. It's like my mouth can't say what my brain is trying to get out.
Well, I don't know what neuropathy is.
It's basically just nerve damage.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know the cause of it yet, but I was actually getting all of that stuff checked out whenever the crash happened. And I kind of just have put all of that on hold. I really don't care at this point.
Yeah.
But it definitely has affected that. So I'm able to say what I want to say through writing a lot easier than I can through speech.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I just always loved writing. I mean, when I was in 5th grade, I wanted to be a writer. It's just something that comes naturally to me. And I just one day decided to get on Instagram and start using that almost like it was my journal. And that's what I do. I don't really write for anyone else. I shouldn't say that. Now I do, because I know there are people that I can, that say that they're able to kind of figure out what it is they're trying to say whenever they read my words. And so I do try to do that. But honestly, it really is primarily for me. It's how I relay what I'm feeling, but it's also how I tell their story. And that part is my main reason. I will tell anyone that wants to listen,
Yeah.
I know I've started a book. Who knows how long it'll take me to finish it, but I have started writing it, and I'm about 4 chapters in. So this one is it's their story for the most part.
That is awesome, because that was going to be my next question. Have you thought about writing a book?
Yeah, I have.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm so glad you're doing that.
I am too. Even if nothing ever happens with it, it again is for me. And I feel like I do feel that it is my purpose to, and I know all parents probably feel that their kids are wonderful. But they really were just,
they sound exceptional.
They were amazing. They were boys. They were,
of course,
when Deacon was 16, he and I are very much alike. And so we would butt heads on the regular for a little while there. But that actually didn't last too terribly long. But, they're the typical teenagers that you have issues with, but they never did anything harmful. They never, ever did anything to hurt someone. They were very kind souls. And they're not here to tell their story, so I have to do so.
I love it. And tell me how old the 3 youngest ones are now again. Walker
just turned 18.
Oh my God.
Natalie, her birthday was yesterday, so she turned 13. And Ryder turned 7 on the 14th.
Oh my gosh. So he's just in what, 1st grade? Or?
He is, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
He is.
Wow. Well, Crystal, I can't thank you enough for being on the show. I mean, I just admire you so much. And I feel like we already know each other because we've been back and forth chatting so much. And I really hope I get to meet you one day.
I hope so too.
Maybe we'll meet each other at one of Jen's things or something.
That sounds wonderful. Where are you actually in California?
I'm in West Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. So I'm not far from Jen.
Yeah.
But and I have a lot of friends in Atlanta and Florida, and so I may get down there. I actually might do a retreat, go to a retreat there in February. So if so, I will definitely make plans to see you.
Please do. That would be
take
awesome.
You to lunch.
That would be wonderful.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Okay, so we've come to the time when I ask questions, and actually. Let's see. You are the first one who's going to have new questions.
Oh, okay then.
Because I retired the old questions. So
I don't get to pick a penis.
You listen to the penis part. Well, we have something new and fresh for you.
Okay.
What do you think about, Crystal, when you hear the word love?
I'm pausing because it's literally, I am surrounded by it. It has completely encompassed me. The one thing that death has brought for me is it has expounded the love around me. And that's, I have no other answer but that.
Other than where you're living now, where in the world is somewhere that you would like to live?
Anywhere in the world. I would go back to Italy in a heartbeat. Florence has a little small piece of my heart. So definitely go back there.
That's so special. How do you define serenity?
I mean, serenity is peace. It's grace. It's the quiet moments. It's when I can just breathe them in.
Mm. Okay. Lightning round of questions. Fireside or oceanside?
Fireside in the fall, oceanside any other time.
Oh, yes. Favorite junk food?
Chocolate anything.
Oh, like give me some examples.
Literally
like your favorite.
Probably brownies are my favorite, but I'll take dark chocolate, milk chocolate. I don't like white chocolate, but everything else is pretty much. You can dip saltine crackers in chocolate and I would eat it.
God, that's so true. That actually sounds amazing.
It actually is. I've had it.
Oh my God. That sounds amazing. Do you like theme parks?
I thought I did. We went a couple of years ago, and I used to love roller coasters, but I literally hated every single one that I went on. So, I think it's as you get older, the fear. I don't know. I have no idea. But
I love it. Daytime sex or nighttime sex?
Both.
Yes, girl. As you can tell, I kept some of the old ones. I just had to change it up. Okay, let's see. Texting or talking?
Texting.
Cat person or dog person?
Dog person.
Shower or bathtub?
If I have to wash my hair, I love the shower. But if I don't, then I would much prefer the bath.
So smart. You're so pragmatic.
I know. It's ridiculous. Go ahead.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at making lasagna?
I'm really good at it.
Really? Mm-hmm. God, I love homemade lasagna.
That wasn't a scale, was it? I would say a 9.
That's an answer. I'm really good at it. I mean, you're a 9. That's sexy. I just love a good homemade anything, really, but homemade lasagna. Oh,
I'm a good cook. It's just one of those things that comes naturally. I can taste something and usually can kind of pinpoint what's in it, but my husband puts me to shame. So there's that.
Really? Your husband's a chef?
He was a sous chef for a long time.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so sexy.
I know. He's
a man that cooks and then cooks for you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. That's good, girl. That's good.
It is.
What's your biggest pet peeve?
Dishonesty.
Just in general?
Yeah. Anything fake. I'm all about being real and I can't handle bullshit, honestly. So
I love it. A superpower choice: invisibility, ability to fly, or Wonder Woman's truth lasso.
Oh, I'm going to say ability to fly.
Yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where would you fly to? Where's the first place?
My boys?
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. Would you rather have a cat tail or cat ears? She's really thinking about it.
I am. I even have the finger here on the Okay, I'm going to have to say cat ears, I guess. I'm really not sure what the benefit of either of them would be, but cat ears? Sure.
You would get snuzzled a lot. People would want to pet you in your ears.
That's true. And the tail would just get in the way. That would bug me.
True. It might be itchy.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the name of your first pet?
Colt.
Oh, what was the name of the street you grew up on?
Grady.
Oh, yes. So your porn name, that is so awesome. Your porn name is Colt Grady.
That's
dude.
Perfection.
That is like a 1980s.
It is. I need a stash.
Oh, you need totally do. Colt Grady. That's so awesome, girl. Oh my God, I love it. Colt Grady.
Fantastic.
That is a series of books. That is like a 10-year television run.
That's the title of my next book.
There it is. Colt Grady.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Crystal, you're an angel. You're just such an angel. Thank you so much.
So are you. And thank you. And thanks for working out all this
oh my God.
Difficulty.
It was meant to be. We fought hard to get this, and it's such a beautiful episode. So I'm really grateful.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed my conversation with Crystal. Please join me next week as we kick November off with a fresh episode of MILF Podcast. I love you guys. Keep going.